If you know how to use if in Excel, then you know how to use case in SQL. Let's go through an example. I have this sample table here that just has two columns, order ID and total amount. And let's say I wanted to categorize this data based on the amount. I'm going to say that amounts greater than 200 are high. Amounts between 100 and 200 are medium. And anything less than 100 is low. All right, so I'm going to start by selecting the fields I want to pull. Next, I'll indicate the table I'm taking my data from, which is the orders table. Now, the case statement goes after select and before from. And the way this works is we start by saying case, and then on a new line, we indent and write out our conditions. So there are three conditions that I wrote out here. Let's start with the first one. When the total amount is greater than 200, then we'll categorize that record as high. This is kind of like the if function in Excel or Python, except instead of saying if, we're saying when. Moving on to the second condition. We want to say that everything greater than 100 and up to 200 is medium. So the easiest way to do this is to just say when the total amount is greater than 100, then medium. Now, the reason why this works is because SQL is going to evaluate these conditions from top to bottom. So first, it's going to check if the total amount is greater than 200. If it is, then that record will be marked as high. That means that all the conditions below it don't matter for that record. The top condition was true, so it takes priority and that record will be marked as high. Then SQL will move on to the next record and go through the same process. Okay, the last condition is that everything else will be marked as low. So this is easy. I'll just say else low. So SQL is going to go through each record one by one and first determine if the total amount is greater than 200. If yes, then it will be marked as high. If no, then it will move on to the second condition. If the record is greater than 100, then it will be marked as medium. If still no, then it will move on to the final condition, which just says that everything else will be marked as low. All right, to finish off the case statement, you have two options. You can just say end, making sure that the end keyword is in line with case, and that will create a new column whose header will be all of this. I think this would look super messy as a column header, so instead I'm going to say end as. That will allow me to set an alias for my new column. I'll just call it order size. Now I'll run my code, and there is my new column with the categories for each record.